What's up folks, this video is going to be about the tier 3 talents in Mr. Pandaria beta. There's actually only 2 talents out at the moment for this tier. One of them is From Darkness Comes Light, which is basically Surge of Light from the last expansion. Then we've got a Coming Soon talent, which I've spoken to a couple of Blizzard devs and no one seems to know what it's going to be or what it is, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. And the last one is Archangel. Now the first one, From Darkness Comes Light, is basically a proc talent, and when you smite, heal, flash heal, binding heal or great heal, you cause your next flash heal to be instant and have no mana cost. Now this talent seems kind of RNG and I'm not sure yet if it's worth it. We'll have to see how much you can smite, because I've done some extensive testing and found out that it's about 5% proc rate on heals and about 15% proc rate on smite. The proc lasts about 10 seconds, so the usefulness of this talent could come in when you're going really offensive with smites and stuff and you're just tossing your teammates a shield or two, not really topping them off. You get your smites off, you get your holy fire off, and then you have the proc to do an instant flash heal afterwards to top party members off. Now each of these tests was a series of 50 casts, and I recorded the number of procs during those casts. And I did this several times. I only prepped this one because it's pointless showing you me doing the same thing over and over. But as I said, the proc rates came out at about 5% and 15% on average. This smite one's a little bit low, but that's just due to variance. That heal on the guard there was just from the atonement glyph, but I won't get into that now. I'll talk about that in a later vid. Aside from that, there's not really much to say about this talent. I feel like it's a little bit RNG based, which I don't really like. I feel more inclined to go for stuff which I can control and use when I feel like it's needed, rather than randomly get an effect and you can't really rely on it. Which brings me on to the next talent, which is Archangel. But before talking about that, I kind of need to talk about Evangelism, which is a passive effect that this gets, where wherever you do damage with Penance, Holy Fire or Smite, you get a stacking buff called Evangelism. And what that does is it increases the damage by those spells by 4% per stack, and reduces the mana cost of those spells by 6% per stack. And this stacks to 5 times, so 20% and 30% respectively. Now what Archangel does is it consumes those stacks. So for every stack that you've got, it increases your healing by 5%, and that lasts 18 seconds with a 30-second cooldown, so you can have it up for a lot of the time if you want to. Penance actually stacks it 3 times for a single penance, which is pretty huge, because without that you wouldn't actually be able to restack it without smiting quite a lot, and sometimes that's not possible. But right now it seems that you can get it to 5 stacks with a single offensive penance and 2 instant holy fires every 10 seconds. So I think that increases the viability of this talent tenfold, just because it makes Evangelism so much easier to stack, and you can basically have Archangel up the whole game as well, increasing healing by 25%, which is huge. So yeah, I think overall at the moment for me, Archangel is the better choice, just because the Surge of Light talent just seems too random and unreliable, and since they added the ability to stack Evangelism with Penance, it's just become amazing. And here's me just casually critting for 45k with Smite, because, you know, crits are cool, right, Swifty fans?